The Last of Us Season 2 is going so poorly at this point. They are trying to actively silence any criticism about it. It's pure insanity.
Hey, what's up, guys? Riv here. So today we're going to be talking about The Last of Us Season 2, which is currently airing on HBO Max. We just concluded episode 4, and just like the other episodes, it was accompanied by some more controversy that has, of course, led to the increasingly negative user scores regarding this second season, and now with another round of
Where are the defenders? Okay? When I called season 1 bad because I stopped watching about the third episode or fourth episode because it was absolute goddamn horror, people didn't like that. Where are you now? Huh? Where are you now, you bunch of tourists? That's right, you're nowhere, okay? You understand the error of your ways. Same exact thing as with the Fallout series.
controversy. Well, just like the other episodes, the journalists and the shills have continued to come out of the woodwork to make every single defense for this series and to label all of the upset viewers as incels, losers, idiots, etc.
My power level when I get called a Nazi. Oh man. My Hitler body pillow grows stronger every minute.
Now, of course, we have to start off with the second episode, which contained a very infamous scene from the franchise.
You know what's my favorite part about this? The fact that they tried so hard to uglify her. They tried, okay? They are trying so much to not make her as hot as possible here because that would even make them look worse. Okay? Neil Cuckman is a loser. It is what it is, okay? The guy's an absolute chill, an absolute loser, absolute woke lunatic. Man, this actress, if you did not know, by the way, is actually pretty goddamn hot. She has the looks. She has it, okay? And they're trying so hard, so unbelievably hard to make her ugly and stuff. It's insanity.
Yes, there's going to be spoilers in this video in case you're not aware, but this is the scene where Joel is beaten to death by Abby with a golf club. This is something that wouldn't surprise you if you were familiar with the game, or at least with the controversy that came with the game. This was a very...
If you're following the TV show and you're following any discussion about it, I don't think there's any way that you don't know what's happening. What's gonna happen.
heavily disliked scene. People were not happy with this. And the people who have seen or played the game before when they watched this second season, they knew this was coming. They were maybe hoping they would go a different direction with this, but obviously that was not the case.
No, because Neil Druckmann put himself in, the worst position possible. Because by casting someone who is not as ugly as the original Abby, he already kind of admits defeat that everything he did was a bad thing. But he's a self-centered, narcissistic asshole. So obviously everything that Neil Druckmann does is pretty much from the fucking hand of God shoved into your mouth because that's how special the guy is. Makes sense. Shalom. Anyway, Abby, yeah, the fact that she already is this, not this, that she doesn't look like fucking Hulk from the Avengers, but with more steroids, is already an admission of a failure.
Case. And then for everyone else who is watching this episode, the sort of normies, the people who were not familiar with the video game or the controversy surrounding it, they were blindsided by this, which is not too surprising, even though they tried to humanize characters like Abby a lot more in the series than they did in the video game, and people were not happy. Overall, people were very upset about this decision because to many, Joel was the most interesting character in the series for them, and they thought Pedro Pascal was doing a great job and was the anchor of everything going on with this show. However, Neil Druckmann, he said they nailed it, right? He said they were able to successfully recapture the moment of Abby and Joel's confrontation. I mean, yeah, they did.
By the way, this is great because the moment we saw an Abby that is not biblically She-Hulk, everyone was starting to make fun of Neil Druckmann for understanding that, wait a minute, well, not understanding, admitting that he's an idiot. And obviously, the moment that started to happen, Neil Druckmann was like, no, This shit now is happening, okay? When you deal with a narcissist and he is almost there admitting that he did something wrong even by accident, if you start pointing it out, they will quadruple down, they will quintuple down, they will sextuple down. They will put their head so far in the sand you would be amazed why China is not there.
People were disappointed, just like the first time. I don't really understand what he was expecting here, but it seems like they want to stick with the core of what the video game was doing, and this is an example of that just not translating into anything really positive. Also, again, with Neil Druckmann, you have to revisit Intergalactic.
Oh god, I'm waiting for this so long. This is a woman, by the way.
This is going to be an absolute disaster, but just wanted to remind you guys that this is coming down the pipe.
Oh, I want this so much. I want this so much. Because if we believe the leaks about this, that we have heard about what the story is, what's gonna happen and shit, you know, it's gonna be another Neil Druckmann masterpiece. Okay, it's gonna be the cherry on top. Okay, shit. Oh, listen. Do you honestly think a guy who thinks, oh, shaving your hair off the head if you're a woman, well, barely a invisible woman, I guess, barely a woman makes you somehow indistinguishable from what you were previously like with hair? You know he's cooking something big.
For Naughty Dog. But, of course, as soon as that episode started getting flack and negative reception, the journalists came out of the woodwork to start making defenses for this series and to attack any of the people leaving negative reviews. You can see this absolute banger of an article unpacking the toxic troll backlash to The Last of Us Season 2. There is this one little life hack that no one ever talks about. I practice it regularly. It has drastically improved my life. No, I'm not an influencer reading an AI written script to sell $3,000 lip liner. I'm a real human and thought catalog writer who
We can kind of debate about the real human considering you like The Last of Us.
wants to tell you, just don't watch. Yeah, okay, these are the people saying just don't watch. They're the same.
Oh god, I fucking hate this, okay? As the world burns around you, just don't be in the fire. What great advice, okay? As the murderer is killing hundreds of people and gunning them down in the streets, just don't walk into the bullets. What great arguments. What great arguments we have here. I love it. We're truly never gonna move past this, okay? Aliens are not gonna reveal themselves to us. They're not gonna contact anyone as long as we have fucking opinions like this.
Ones who will cancel anything they determine is problematic and judge you for watching it. They do not take their own advice on that. But anyways, they say, yes, that's the life hack. If you don't like something, don't watch it. You don't need to watch the entirety of the episode of the show. You don't.
As a true man of culture, by the way, don't worry. I will only judge you as God has deemed it fit. And that is, of course, by your opinion of Midnight Sleazy Train Part 2. That is what separates us from animals.
Like, you also don't have to watch the rest of the series after that. In fact, you don't even need to register for a Rotten Tomatoes account and then write 3-paragraph reviews on the show's Rotten Tomatoes page. You can just not watch. You can close the tab on your browser or TV, open a meditation app, and then release the chaotic evil from your body. You can't.
Why couldn't this guy just ignore the backlash to the series in that case? Again, obviously, this argument by default is stupid, but if we extend the logic just this bit, you kind of come to the fast realization, wait a minute, why didn't this guy in that case ignore the negative criticisms about this thing and just not engage with them? But he chose to. So, he chose to engage with these things that he says is bad to engage with because they are negative and shit. But you can't do the same thing that he's doing. It's never gonna work. It doesn't matter backwards or forwards. This is not even logic. This is just stupidity.
Make yourself a smoothie and watch Game of Thrones up until season 7. You can go to therapy, you incel. Oh
Damn.
boy. Being an incel is when you criticize an HBO Max series. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous,
Sad.
right? They're trying to basically tell you if you don't like it, go away, but also don't fully consume the product before you make your determination of whether it's good or not. That seems a bit contrived coming from what's supposed to be a journalist, and they're getting mad because people are leaving detailed reviews criticizing some of these episodes. Very hypocritical, but of course, people are responding very negatively. This is the Metascore now. It's dropped all the way down to 3.9
Eh.
for users. This was much higher. I believe it was in the sixes. It's down to 3.9. It's dwindling down with each episode after the first one completed. And of course, that's not the only
Dude, Neil Druckmann is already blaming the evil chuds.
thing they're losing. They're also losing viewers. As you see, The Last of Us loses viewers following the major character death of Joel in season 2. And that's not surprising at all. Like I said, there's a lot of people watching this who are
Okay, listen. Every woman is watching this because Pedro Pascal. Dude, listen. When I asked them to hold my hand, I'm fucking creepy, okay? And they're calling the cops. But when Pedro Pascal wants a woman to hold his hand because he's afraid, or he's being emotionally sensitive, they fucking melt, okay? How is this fair? How is this fucking fair? Okay? This is not fair. Okay? And he's the only reason people, women are watching this show, okay? And trust me, there's more men watching this show for Pedro fucking Pascal's ass than whatever the fuck that autistic creature's name is. It's not even close.
are not people who played the video game. So they did not see this scene coming, and it left them completely baffled. They're like, what's going to happen next after this? That is the primary conversation from people who did not play the game. They're saying, what happens next? Why did they kill Joel? Where do we go from here? Why is there so much space left for the rest of the season? What are they going to do? Well, that's just the way it is, and unfortunately, people really didn't like it. You can see the ratings reflect that. You can see, according to Programming Insider, The Last of Us Season 2 premiere drew in nearly 1 million linear viewers in the United States, but that very next week, the number dropped to 643,000 fans, and that is a staggering 31.5% drop. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? A lot of people knew this controversial scene was going to pop up in the second episode, but they still didn't tune in enough. And also because of the, well, poor reception in the episode, I guess there wasn't a lot of hype. However, there was an interesting rebound in the third episode with 768,000 viewers because people were curious. Where are they going to go from here? How are they going to pick up the pieces and get this back? And of course, even though it did rebound compared to the second episode, it's still far short of the first episode in terms of viewers. And of course, HBO Max doesn't release their streaming numbers, so we don't know what's going on there, but this is just a reference. And a lot of people are now saying,
yeah, but this is, I mean, this is barely edited, sadly. People are desperate for something good to watch on TV, honestly, pretty much constantly, okay? The only time that we were not desperate was when The Penguin was a thing, and goddamn, that's a good series. Still love it. One of the absolute fucking best. Hey, it is what it is. Oz does what Oz does. And, you know, other things like Invincible and stuff like that. But when there is no this absolute amazing series that everyone's talking about, I mean, people are searching for something, okay? We watched The Acolyte. The Acolyte was I mean, The Acolyte is literally a walking advertisement why women should not have rights, okay? That's how bad that fucking series is. Just saying, okay? It's just the truth. Everyone knows it. And even that, people just were watching because people want there to be something that they like and it's good. And that's the problem, and there's nothing really, really good around. We kind of are forced to watch shit like this time to time.
how is Ellie and Bella Ramsey, the actress playing her, how are they going to carry the load here? How are they going to pick up for the slack that is now created because Joel is gone? And I always find this funny.
How did it take everyone this long to figure out that Bella Ramsey is actually autistic? How?
I see a lot of these Photoshop pictures of Ellie, and it's like, do you even have to Photoshop
No.
when like these are real?
Oh man. Maybe abortion is wrong, okay? Maybe abortion gives us our greatest joys in life. Who knows?
Shots from the show. I mean, this is crazy. But anyways, the big focus now, since Joel's gone in the latest episodes, is the romantic relationship between Ellie and Dina. And here's the thing. It's like,
It's
yeah,
cringe.
they had to try to make something to fill the void here, but there's not that stark contrast of personalities that existed between Joel and Ellie, right? And even those were kind of watered down for the sake of this show, which is reflected in this relationship as well. It's like the show is petrified of presenting characters as unlikable. Not poorly written, but unlikable. They make these two just way too likable with very few rough patches around them. Their relationship pretty much instantly succeeds, and it's one that has very
I mean, it's boring, dull, and stupid, isn't it, though?
few bumps in the road. It just kind of works. And that feels very, well, stale. And it's something that even Kotaku, of all people, can recognize in this article. Yes, hell hath frozen over. Even they recognize it.
I can't. I'm remembering the picture. It's just, oh my god.
That the relationship seems a little too perfect, and that they were too afraid to make some of these characters rough around the edges, to give them flaws, to make them unlikable, because they want everyone to like them so desperately, especially in the absence of Joel. But of course, following the third episode, where we're re-exploring this, or going out and exploring this relationship between the two, the trolls.
Flawless people are fucking boring. That's like the big problem, I feel, honestly. If you're gonna make a character flawless, he better be a fucking sociopath or something deep down, because otherwise it's just boring. Flawless characters are the same nowadays as every actor has perfect teeth. And that just takes away from the world, because the world's not like that.
Struck again, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe this. The next week, we have another article saying this. The Last of Us Season 2's review bombing isn't limited to Rotten Tomatoes. As you can see, despite the efforts of certain platforms to prevent review bombing, trolls still seem to be getting away with it. The latest victim is HBO's The Last of Us, which, like the video game it's based on, has been targeted by individuals who seem to have a problem with women being spotlighted. Absolutely amazing. No accountability for anyone in this situation as long as they're a woman or a minority, because journalists don't want to allow any criticism against them. And I think that's infantile. You're infantilizing these actresses. Here's the thing. I don't think any of these actresses that we're talking about here are
Oh
bad actresses.
god.
I think they're fine. It's just the writing isn't good for season 2. That's the reality, and that's why people are not feeling this show as much as was anticipated, okay? And that's why people are upset, shielding it behind the fact that you see this spotlight on women. Absolutely ridiculous. But they can see down here, they also mention that the trolls can't be contained to just one platform. They also messed with the show's rating on Metacritic, and we saw that already. But they continue on in this article, also saying this: are you noticing a trend, because they're criticizing female actresses, any film or show with even mildly progressive politics seems to irritate the sort of people who are likely to spend time venting about
Mildly progressive, you say? If that was mildly progressive, no one would care. This is not mildly progressive in the slightest. This is in your face, gun to the head.
these things online, which is very interesting because, yeah, a lot of people don't want to see a lot of politics and progressive stuff in a show like this, which there's tons of it. A lot of this is very progressive in nature, and that's honestly what they're falling on the hardest in the absence of Joel. They're going that direction even harder because they're trying to make up for the slack. They have to fill the void somehow, and that's really all the identity they have with this show. Now, before we move on to episode 4 and some of the controversy involved in that, we have to talk about the Critical Drinker. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this popular YouTube channel. He reviews a lot of shows.
He has this thumbnail. I'm taking it, okay? I am taking that. That is so good. That almost killed me. The show almost killed me.
Movies, and he has a pretty good influence, right? There were several people in various industries who have come out to mention by name people like the Critical Drinker as a very big scare for some of these companies because they have a much bigger influence than even mainstream media outlets. His determination to watch something or to not watch something has an influence on people. He holds a lot of power in the eyes of millions of people who will take his advice at least to some level of seriousness. And that is a lot stronger of an impact than the mainstream media.
Why is there an asterisk on Thunderbolts?
Who can't be trusted in any sort of a way because they're paid shills or they're a bunch of woke activists. You can't trust what they're saying, but people see some honest.
Yeah, being labeled as a shill, a woke shill especially, is like the pretty much end of but it kind of destroys your reputation throughout the internet. It's pretty insane.
Reviews from people like the Critical Drinker, and they take them very seriously and actually hold some weight to his opinion. Now, why are we talking about him? Well, he got hit with a copyright strike from Home Box Office Inc., which of course would be HBO. But of course, with any of these, there's always the possibility someone is impersonating them. But in this case, that doesn't seem to be what's going on. In fact, the Critical Drinker would call this out directly on X here if it ever loads for some reason.
God, and you know what's the best part about all of this? It's the fact that they do this, and they're dumb enough to believe that he's gonna be silent about this, that he's just gonna take it. Bro, your copyright struck him. There's no reason to not go full scorched earth on you at that point.
And what are we doing? Hey, at HBO, are you guys going to unblock my Last of Us video or continue to shamelessly abuse the YouTube copyright system like a bunch of pussies? Because really, you're just proving how afraid you are of actual criticism. And lo and behold, wouldn't you believe it, after he spoke out, it's magically back. And that's exactly how it should be. This is why people should speak out against this stuff and rally behind people being suffering the abuse of the copyright system by these big companies who are afraid of being criticized. And that's what happened here. And you can see too.
You know what's the funny part about this? Not technically, but Drinker can sue them for something. Damages, whatever the fuck he wants, he can sue them for. Because that is blatant copyright abuse. Putting on, because there's literally no two ways about this, by the way. If you strike someone on YouTube, and they fight the strike, and you don't go to on them to court, or you remove the strike willingly, you're now suable because that action, by definition, means that you chose to abuse the copyright strike. You removing it or you not fighting it fully means that you knew that what you are doing is wrong and unlawful because a copyright strike is a legal claim. But obviously, no one's gonna go and fight HBO in a lawsuit. They literally have more lawyers than people watching this.
The video is back up. I believe it had like 600K before it was taken down. It kind of killed the momentum there for a second, but now it's bounced back, nearly doubling that view total in the last less than 24 hours. And if you scan through the video or watch it yourself, there is nothing here that is not fair use. I mean, he's been doing this for years and years. Do you think he doesn't understand the copyright system? What he's doing is transformative reviews with clips playing in the background as he is allowed by YouTube. Unfortunately, they abuse the copyright system and take down this video, and it's not too surprising because Naughty Dog has done this before.
Well, to be fair, this explanation by Rev is actually very, very inaccurate because my throat is a little bit sore because of this shit. Because you watch a clip playing in the background and you talking doesn't actually necessarily make it fair use. There's a lot more there's a lot more that technically needs to happen there. Okay, it's really complicated. No one really has we haven't really had the lawsuits to prove fair use or not in most case scenarios. But again, a clip playing in the background while you're talking about something doesn't make it fair use.
Infamous for taking down YouTube videos that are critical of their franchises. They've even...
Now, are these assholes blatantly abusing the system? Yes, but still.
Struck down people who are simply talking about their shows, not even showing clips in the background or using transformative...
That was Neil Druckmann, by the way. That was Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog did that.
Commentary like that. Just people talking about the show, like I am in this video, without playing actual clips. That's how insecure they are about criticism. Now, let's get to episode 4. It's another filler arc type episode. That's what it feels like. But the end scene here is what everyone's talking about.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be a dad. I saw this. 10 out of 10. Anyway, it's the Last of Us TV show. If you're watching this, that's on you, buddy, okay? You should have understood that this is crap anyway. Okay, it's garbage, it's more garbage, it's everything. That was Rev Says This with 10 out of 10. Bye!